a four-part series. ARTisTALK will feature theater and performance artist scholars known both locally and internationally, engaging in a roundtable discussion focusing on their expertise, the current trends in theater, and their careers as artists and scholars. This is ARTisTALK 2021.
Good day to everyone, especially to our speakers who have generously accepted our invitation to be here for ARTisTALK series episode on performance, pedagogy, and institutions. So I am Issa Manalo Lopez, and I will be serving as one of the episode's moderators. I'm an independent theater maker, director, and actor-teacher. I'm part of the faculty of the Department of Speech, Comm, and Theater Arts here in the University of the Philippines.
Hello to everyone as well. I am Iris Montesclaros, actor and student of UP's MA Theater Arts program, pursuing a theater practice track and performance, and I will also serve as one of your moderators for this episode.
For our welcoming remarks,
We would like to finally kick this roundtable discussion off, and we would like to invite Dean Amihan Bonifacio Ramulete to come to the Zoom stage to offer their welcoming remarks for all of us.
So welcome to ARTisTALK 2021. It's a very interesting play with words. Art is talk and artist talk. So it's time to talk about art, theater arts, and the performing arts in particular. With the upcoming 40th anniversary of the Master of Arts Theater Arts Program, or MATA, in August, the Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts has organized a series of activities to celebrate the program's achievements as well as to look into the challenges and the program has encountered and looking forward to future opportunities. I wish to congratulate the organizers of MATA at 40, led by Assistant Professor Brian Viray, the MATA coordinator, together with our MA students, and in partnership with the UP System Office of International Linkages, UP Diliman Office for Initiatives in Culture and the Arts, the College of Arts and Letters, and UP Cineasts Studio. ARTisTALK 2021 will feature theater and performance artist scholars, known both locally and internationally, engaging in a roundtable discussion focusing on their expertise, the current trends in theater, and their careers as artists and/or scholars. The invited speakers include artist scholars from leading international universities and academic institutions like the Juilliard School and Yale University, and will also feature our very own graduates and current students of the program who have established themselves in their respective fields. ARTisTALK 2021 will have 4 episodes every Saturday starting May 8th. Make sure to mark your calendars. We all miss going to the theater, but through these talks, we bring the theater to you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the ARTisTALK Series 2021. This is a project from the Department of Speech, Communication, and Theater Arts. And we are so very proud of the team that organized this. And I would like to give a shout out to Professor Brian Viray, who is the leading figure in this project. The ARTisTALK series is four-part program that will feature theater and performance artist scholars, where they will be engaging in roundtable discussion. And we are so very proud that we have 21 artist scholars who will be participating in this project. And what is this for? Yes, this is for our MA Theater Arts program 40th anniversary. We are very happy to welcome the art scholars who are participating in this project. Thank you for sharing your ideas, sharing your insights on different topics, on different fields of study. And we also welcome the audience. We hope that our students and other students will join us in this wonderful endeavor. I think you're going to really learn from this ARTisTALK series. I think that not only students in theater or those who love theater, but also other students who might want to take, younger students who might want to take up theater in the future. Okay, so again, welcome to the ARTisTALK 2021. Mabuhay!
Good day to our guest panelists, moderators, and most of all, to our virtual audience members. I welcome you to the 40th year anniversary of the MA Theater Arts program. The institution of the Master of Arts in Theater Arts program was an idea initiated by Professor Emeritus Antonio Mabeza 40 years ago, according to Professor Amiel Leonardia. A graduate program would be the natural offshoot of the certificate and BA programs which were being offered during that time. Professor Mabeza, Professor Leonardia, and Mr. Chris Vertido agreed on the plans to propose a graduate program in theater arts. This decision was guided by their vision for a Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts to be the leading department in theater art studies in the Philippines. We are very fortunate that their vision has persisted for 40 years now. This is a powerful proof of the significant part of theater education, not only in UP, but to the Philippine society in general. ARTisTALK 2021 and MATA Gathering are two of the main exciting activities from May to August this year, which the DSCTA will convene and host in an effort to share with its current students, faculty, alumni, and its potential students the milestones and challenges of the last 40 years of the MATA program, while looking forward to future opportunities. We express our utmost gratitude to Professor Mabeza, Professor Leonardia, and Mr. Vertido as proponents and initiators of the MA Theater Arts program for their bold vision and undeterred courage. We also thank the past and current theater graduate faculty members who have dedicated their services to the department and assured the continuance of the MATA program. Finally, we thank our alumni and current students, our primary stakeholder. Your commitment to the discipline of theater and performance studies guarantees the next 40 years of our program. Muli, maraming salamat po.
Before we begin, allow me to offer a brief introduction of our speakers for this episode. First off, Ana Valdes is a teacher, director, actor, and author. Anna received training from the Juilliard School in New York for theater, University of Hawaii at Manoa for teaching, and the Asian Institute of Management for managing the arts. She holds numerous theater, television, and film credits in the Philippines and abroad. Anna also has several advocates that are near and dear to her, including bringing the theater experience to inmates at the male medium security facility in Muntinlupa. and the Correctional Institute for Women in Mandaluyong. Anna continues to support inmates freed from the Correctional Institute in a weekly public speaking class. She teaches individual and group classes online and was the artistic director of META, the Marie Eugenie Theater of Assumption College for 16 years. Anna is a member of the American Federation of Television Radio Artists, AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, SAG, and Actors Equity Association, AEA.
We also have Missy Maramara, a tenured assistant professor in the Department of Fine Arts and English Department of the Ateneo de Manila University, where she is currently pursuing a PhD in English Language and Literature. She also holds a Master of Fine Arts in Drama Performance from the University of Arkansas through the International Fulbright Scholarship Program. She also trained at the L'École Internationale de Théâtre Jacques Lecoq in Paris and at Tectonic Theater Project in New York. Missy is a theater, television, and film actress and a director of theater plays and musicals. She's also a member of Silly People's Improv Theater, or SPIT Manila, a teacher in Third World Improv, or TWI, and the moderator of Ateneo Blue Repertory and Dulaang Sibol Junior High School.
And lastly, we have Anna Stojanović, PhD. She is a candidate in Culture and Performance at the Department of World Arts and Cultures, Dance of the University of California, Los Angeles. After her bachelor's studies at the acting department of the Academy of the Arts in Belgrade, her professional engagement at the National Theater in Belgrade, Serbia, resulted in collaborations with eminent theater directors from Serbia and abroad. In 2013, she was a recipient of the IACS Indonesian Art and Culture Scholarship for studies in the field of Asian theater, traditional Indonesian dance, and wayang kulit, traditional shadow theater. In 2016, she acquired an MA degree in Dance Knowledge, Practice, and Heritage at the consortium of 4 prestigious universities in Norway, France, Hungary, and the United Kingdom. Throughout her academic and professional engagement, Anna had the opportunity to explore various artistic disciplines, both in the capacity of a researcher and a practitioner. She is an actress, Serbian and Indonesian traditional dancer, and a dance researcher. Anna continuously strives to develop a unique understanding of what it means to be a socially conscious artist.
To start the ball rolling, I would like to ask each of our speakers to take turns and to share what sparked their interest in pursuing a life in theater and how they came into the profession and craft of acting. So if I may ask Miss Ana Valdes Lim to start off with her sharing.
I started out as a dancer of ballet, and I wanted to dance ballet. And my parents said, you have to have a bachelor's degree. I think they didn't tell me you have to have a livelihood and earn a living. So I had heard about Juilliard and getting a bachelor's degree at Juilliard. So I thought of getting dance there and getting a bachelor's degree. At the same time, I was also enrolled in a university and I took an acting class, and it felt good to take the acting class. So I scheduled an acting audition, and I auditioned. I was going to audition for both dance and drama, but I got into the drama program earlier, and my audition dance came later. So I just chose drama because it was first, it accepted me, and it seemed easier on the body. So I started to do it. And then as the choices came along, I was always leaning towards dance, but the opportunities for drama were coming. So that's how I chose acting. It's like acting chose me in a way. So, and that's how it was. Thank you.
I always say that I was born theater. But you know, as a little girl, my mom would always make us stand on the table and dance and sing and act stuff out. At 7, I think I adapted Noli Me Tangere for for me and my cousin to act out our family, and that was a lot of fun. But when I went into high school, I was studying in Miriam, and I was in the drama club Banaag, and it was a lot of fun. But next door neighbor, Dulang Sibol in Ateneo High School, was holding auditions for Macbeth, and I auditioned. Mr. Pagsy took me in, and I was just mesmerized by the world of Shakespeare and theater, and and I knew I wanted to do it for the rest of my life, and good enough, as destiny would have it, Ateneo de Manila University just opened a theater program. And all I wanted to do was go to Ateneo for college. So, and I wanted to take theater. So boom, it just all happened together. So I pursued theater with Ateneo, and Dr. Ricky Abad was also staging Shakespeare, but now in a Filipino context. And, I just fell down that rabbit hole and never wanted to get out. That's how, the rest is history.
My story is quite similar to Miss Ana Valdes and Missy Maramara. Well, when I was a child, I would usually go to my mother's closet and just dress things and put a pants on my head just to pretend that's my long hair. So then I would act all around my house, and then I would gather children in the playground we need to perform, people. But actually everything happened with a dance. So when I was 4 years old, that's the moment when I was introduced to the dance community, traditional Serbian dance community. So I was in the folklore ensemble for 24 years. And during that experience, I had experience at a stage actually informed me greatly that the performing arts is something that I need to do. That's how I connect with myself and with the world, with a broader artistic community. So I started as a dancer, but as I was growing up, my impulse to become an actress was constant. So I actually went to study acting, and I was in drama schools in Belgrade. And then slowly from there, I returned to the dance studies by doing my master's studies and PhD in dance research and performance. So now at the moment, I'm somewhere in between dance and acting. However, theater will always be my one and first love. And I'm just now, after 4 years of PhD studies, and I'm still not done, and I'm finally back in my home country in Serbia, I was like, yes, I'm going back to the theater again. And then we had the global pandemic. So we'll see. Hopefully soon I'll be there on the stage.
There's really some sort of magic, right, that kind of brings us there, like that entry point into theater. I was wondering though, when you decide to pursue something as a profession, something also very serious or life-changing happens. You kind of really step through that rite of passage, just to say that I'm very serious about this, and I think I want to do this for a very long time or for the rest of my life. Was there a very distinct point for you guys? We'll start with Miss Ana Valdes.
Well, getting into Juilliard, I think I had to decide that this is it, right? Because I was with actors. And then once I got out and just on the first day, they told us that, actors are less than 2% employed. So I was thinking, and they said, if you could do something else, do it. And I was thinking, there's nothing else that I'd rather do at this time. It was a difficult road. It's not easy. Getting out and finding a job and staying employed and going from acting project to acting project. You make a decision every time. And in those days, Asian actresses did not have a lot of calls. So you're lucky to have 3 auditions a week. This is pre-Miss Saigon by 10 years. So you're lucky to have 3 auditions a week. So for me, the decision is every day. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna stick to it. And sometimes it's painful because financially, I had to support myself, and I had to look good, because in those days the burden to look good as an actress was heavy. So the decision was it could wear you down, and sometimes I felt defeated by it, but it was a daily decision.
I think for me, it was really, I just knew it. There was nothing else I wanted to do. Every time there was a presentation or every time there was a little drama experiment for the classroom, I gave it my all every single time. Anything else, I was like, meh. Except anything performative. There was soccer, there was CAT, there was all of these physical, mentally taxing, but it had to be very physical. It had to be also very emotional, no? So I love the whole dynamics in it, the whole feel of it, making sense of drama and making it contribute to society, right? And bringing people together, whether or not they're on the stage or in the audience, or backstage. That was just the whole, like you said, the magic of it. And people will always tell you, what? There's theater in Ateneo. Oh my gosh, yes, since 1910, even before. Or there's going to be like, what are you going to do with your life? And be in the theater. What else, right? And like, what are you going to do with your life, right? So there's always that, at least in growing up, right? There's this mistrust in the capacity of theater to provide or to make you wealthy and stuff. But for me, it's not so much about being wealthy, or it's really about doing what you love, and everything else will follow. And I think if you do follow your heart and you become the best version of yourself, you will find financial, emotional, mental stability. And I look at my life and I think everything that was good in it was because of theater. So
in my case, I have an older brother. He's 10 years older than me. So when I finished my high school, because I was acting in drama school since also like I was quite young. And after I finished my high school, he said to me and to my parents that now we need to be serious about my future. And I shouldn't be an theater actress, because I wouldn't be able to support myself, especially I was born in the Socialist Federative Republic of Yugoslavia. But then in the 90s, when I was young and in my primary school, high school, we had wars, political, economic instability. Country was closed, so you couldn't travel, you couldn't perform, not enough funds for culture and theater. So he suggested that I should pick one more university to study. So if I enroll the Academy of Arts, that's fine, but I need to have another support career. And I was like, okay, so I will enroll in psychology and the Department of Psychology, and I did that. And I remember when I came to the first lecture in the big auditorium, professor said, like, I just want to acknowledge there are like two kinds of students who study social sciences, psychology, anthropology, and etc. One of them are actually theater directors and actors who are quite interested how they can use techniques, ideas, strategies that will help them to create better characters on the stage or on TV. And the other ones are who really wants to help humanities and cure people, etc. I was like, well, I'm in the first group. So I tried to study in these two fields, but yeah, after a month, it was just like, I'm sorry, like I'm also acting. For me, it's not about wealth and being popular. It's all about transformation, learning through my experience, learning through my body, being there on the stage for like 18 hours if it's needed for a theater performance. So yeah, that was my decision. I said like, well, this is my life and I'm sticking with acting, whatever that will bring in my life. And it only brought joy and happiness and connection with people.
You know what, Anna, just if I may say, you're doing the first, but in effect doing the second. You're doing your theater, you're doing your stage work, but in effect you're helping humanity, right?
Yeah, and then I realized when I finished the Academy of Arts, because it was a struggle, like I got an amazing opportunity to be part of the National Theater, but then you couldn't support yourself, salaries and etc. And I always was inspired with psychology, but then I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't now enroll and start studying psychology from the very beginning. Let's see what will happen. And then actually dance kicks in again, and I had that opportunity to go to Indonesia, and then I realized, okay, I can play in between practice and theory, and both of these disciplines will inform my practice, my art, and like the way how I can understand what I'm doing, but also the performances that other people are doing. So I'm always somewhere in between.
You have been discussing regarding the serious steps and decisions that you have made to become actresses. I think a lot of viewers and attendees right now would be very interested, since as young actors in training, we are also bombarded with a lot of school of thoughts on acting. In your study and development of your craft in acting, what acting pedagogies and techniques did you decide to devote your study and practice to? Yes, Miss Anna Valdes.
So I didn't use one pedagogy. I was exposed to different styles. So naturalism, method acting. Then I was just exposed to the classics, and then to different styles. And I was also exposed to different directors and different teachers. And so for the style, I have to use a certain method. Like, for naturalism, I have to use more method acting, more of that line, Strasbourg, and all that emotional recall and all that. And for other styles like Shakespeare, sometimes I have to use a lot of imagination and different exercises and more improvisational. So it really depends on the style and the piece that I have to fulfill. As a teacher and as a director, I don't have that much time with our actors. So if I have to deliver Hamlet and the actor does not have a lot of emotional accessibility, or some people say blocked, although I don't think they're just not emotionally accessible, I use more the method acting styles along those lines of teachers. But if I have an actor who has a lot of emotion, and we're doing Midsummer Night's Dream and it's comedy, it has to be fast, it has to be really and there's a bit too much heavy emotion with the actor, I might use improvisation and a different pedagogy. You call it pedagogy, but to me it's just different kind of brains of training. So for every actor to lead to the piece, we use different methods and styles.
So first, it depends on the piece, like Miss Anna said, and on the director, like what their vision is. But as a performer, as an actor, because I got into text. My first master's was in English language and cultural studies. And the more you learn about things other than theater, the more you have to put in the theater. So what I really liked about it was how to approach text from different ways, from the formalist to the structuralist to the feminist, the post-colonial, right? And I was working with Ricky a lot in college, and then with Monique Wilson and Rita Silo, and that's the feminist side that really came out with New Voice Company. So like, wow, how do we engage this material and how do we bring it out? Granted, it was written for a specific audience at a specific time with a specific context, and now we're shifting it, and the text is the same, but the context is different. How do we make that shift? So that's what will determine what technique you're going to use. And then when I went for my MFA, then I started, because at a certain point in my young career, I was like, oh no, the method, the system of Stanislavski, you're able to pull in from your own personal given circumstances, use the as-ifs, use substitution and endowment, and next thing you know, you're like, running dry. Because the way we were taught is very experiential, and I felt like I needed a little bit more honing in terms of articulation, and I needed to be exposed to a full variety of techniques. So when I went to the US, I learned Meisner, viewpoints, a little bit of Stella Adler, but they didn't call it that, but that's what it was, and the Uta stuff, and more profound like analysis work. So using all these things, like from the presentational to the representational and every single medium in between, it's finding that technique that works for you as an actor in terms of the task at hand, right? So for example, in Dalagita, where one person is playing 21 characters, you can't exactly do a character analysis for all 21. You do it for the big chunk of 5, right? And the rest you can maybe use viewpoints to kind of bring them to life, right? Or I love Michael Chekhov. I love Meisner so much. Like these are my 2 favorite, of course, to add to the system of Stanislavski that's already all there. And I love Uta Hagen's imagination work. And I try in pedagogy, I try to teach my students a little bit of everything so that they can try it. For my personal life, I love improv. I'm with Spit and Third World Improv, and it has tremendously changed my life. And just the ability to yes and explore and expand and create group mind allows all of these little techniques to just mesh. And so hopefully in offering little tidbits to the students in their undergraduate years, they're able to kind of have a sense of what works for them. Because there's no one technique, right? There's a series of techniques that you will do in different ways, right? Different from the way your teacher does it. So it's really about finding that nice middle ground.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's all about the technique that goes well with your own personal and artistic varieties that you can express in a specific performance. It's also all about the theater director and the whole artistic group that works on a specific performance. What is the context and the concept of that performance that you want to portray? Is it, I don't know, ancient theater, Greek ancient theater, but it will be done in the present contemporary time. So actually the style, the genre that you need to do on the stage that you need to embody will be discussed within that group. You can practice, but it's all about, like, I was educated at the Academy of Arts in Belgrade, like Stanislavski, that's the base. So you start from there, and then in the 3rd year you have an opportunity to explore different styles and genres. Maybe something is much more embodied in the physical, in the physicality of your body. And but at the end, as Missy Maramara said, like, it's about, like, try to use as much as techniques as you can, in a sense, like, it's all about you and how you can, like, your body, you as an actor, you're an instrument. So maybe in one period of your life, some techniques would be more appropriate to you to express specific feelings, to portray a specific role, but then maybe a month after, years after, you might use something else. So it's up to you to learn how you will play with your body and how you will, as an actor, be able to adjust to specific artistic circumstances. So yeah, we are actually on the same page.
With all of these techniques that you were able to learn from all of these different universities and institutions you've been to, what was your process in adjusting all of these techniques to your personal process? I mean, for example, most of the techniques are very Western, but you're coming from an Asian perspective or experience. So how do you kind of put them together or let them intersect? Are there any kind of discoveries?
I love it so much. I love that question so very much. Since my first MA was cultural studies, right? And Ricky Abad was always about breaking Shakespeare and finding the Filipino angle to staging it. And really, one of my most favorite productions are all his Filipinizations. I suppose when we say the technique is Western, it's a Western articulation, right? Doesn't mean to say we don't have that as Asians. We don't have that experience of using imagination, using viewpoints, using endowment and substitution, right? So it's not like we don't have it. It's just that the Westerners love to articulate, and we get this articulation, and we appropriate it to what is helpful to us. I remember, meeting my classmates in Arkansas, and my teacher tells me, "Oh, Missy, you like to balloon." I said, "What balloon? What do you mean balloon?" Like, I like to get carried away with my emotions, and I'm like, yes. And like, as a Filipino, I guess I wear my heart on my sleeve, and for compared to, I guess, the more I'd say the individualistic American that might come across as, getting carried away. So eventually I had to learn how to be very methodical rather than very impulse oriented. Does that make me more American or less Asian? I don't know, but for me it just gives me a wider approach. I see many Asian actors who like also being methodical. I see many American actors who are very emotional as well. When I went to Paris, they also had a lot of physicality. They had a lot of like all these like I can't even say it right now, but like the way they approached performance was also incredible, right? It wasn't American, it wasn't Asia, and if you look at Asia, the way Filipinos approach material is different from the way Koreans approach material. But if you look at the Philippines, even the way UP approaches material is different from the way Ateneo approaches material. It's different from the way Assumption approaches material. There are a lot of these things, and we all essentially come together in different schools in like this. I don't know if I dare say the Imperial Manila, right? But even if you look in our different provinces, in our different regions, right, you will see that they also have their practice, and that's something that I'm tremendously interested in, because this is what they champion, what the dance movements, the way they express, the declamations, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. When I held the workshop in Naga, when I held the workshop in Cebu, all of them have that power, have that pull, which is universal, I think, to not just Filipinos but also to Westerners. It's just the culture comes in because the way we behave is affected by our social norms. Like, I don't know in Serbia, but in the Philippines we have this thing called maramdamin, right? Where it is a paper Ricky and I wrote on Filipino acting, where we take things to heart, right? When someone says something, we take it to heart, and it shows in our performances, everything. Even the director says, "What are you doing?" "Oh no, the director hates me." Take it to heart. But I'm sure even Westerners do that, but they can, I don't know, maybe they're a little bit more empowered in the sense that they can say, whatever, right? So in Filipino land, the Philippines, we can't say whatever, because status in terms of age is very important. So little things like that. While the universal base of performativity is there, the cultural execution tends to determine how this base is articulated when it's transformed into a performance. I hope that made sense.
I had an opportunity to go to Indonesia and to get an artistic scholarship, but I wasn't there in a capacity of an actress. So I was there to learn more about traditional dances, which actually, when I came to Indonesia, I didn't realize that the dance performances that I would see are actually, from my point of view as a Serbian actress, are theater performances, because they dance, they sing, they have the parts and the monologues, they have the orchestra on the stage, the gamelan orchestra. But what was interesting to me is actually, as a Serbian traditional dancer, like you and I, in which I was trained since I was 4 years old, you learn that your gaze, it's directly straight to the audience. You have a huge smile, your body is straight, you have like airy movement, many jumps, roles are very gendered defined. But when I came to Indonesia, I realized that like it's very culturally and socially constructed, the way what aesthetic of a specific art performance should be valued as something good and beautiful. Because, for example, in Indonesia, like your body is bent in a different way. Your gaze is not always directly, it's not always directed towards straight to the audience. Like sometimes you just look a little bit on the ground. And actually that helped me to understand that yes, because Serbia is not part of the Western world totally, because we are still third world country, a developing country because of the communism, socialism, etc. Too many wars, so we are somewhere in between. But all these experiences that I had by going to Indonesia actually taught me how I can learn to develop my ability to work across traditionally disciplinary boundaries by looking at the global discourses around the body and performance. And I think because of that, my artistic expression is enriched in so many ways. But then when I came to, for example, in United States, just like looking at the language, like in Serbia, there is a female and male form of talking. So like the words have different endings and the beginnings if you are a male or a female. So when you go to enroll Academy of Arts in Belgrade, if for example, Puck in the Midsummer's Night Dream, it's written in the male form. So me as a female coming as a first year student, I could never ever like do my monologue as a Puck. Unless like later on when I'm professional actress and the director decides like, yeah, I want a woman to play this role. But before that, you cannot say a monologue that is written for a man or a female. And then when I came to UCLA, so I'm studying at a different department, but I worked as assistant professor at the theater department. And I remember one of the students, she took male monologue, and I was shocked. And then I realized, okay, but English language doesn't have these different forms. And I was like, wow, they have so many opportunities to like explore and maybe play even in their first years at the academy of acting in the acting school. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I would advise to all students to just, if you have an opportunity to travel and to maybe study abroad, yeah, absolutely do that, because even if you go more theoretically in a specific direction, in my case like dance studies and etc., that will help you to disrupt the general paradigms, to learn more about colonization, racism, social constructions that will absolutely inform your theoretical or artistic practice. And that's a huge thing. That's the moment when you actually have the power to influence the world, and in a way like that your performance can be in a way like public pedagogy, an act of intervention or a method of resistance and criticism, and etc. etc. So yeah, go travel. Experience more as you can. That's important, I think, for any kind of art form.
I echo that. I think there's a lot of art. There's Tadashi Suzuki in Japan. There's so many I won't name, but you have Google, search, you're attracted to the style, go and study, go and play. And if that output attracts you, then you are that type of performing artist. There's such a variety today. You can't really, you can't look at culture and geographical boundaries anymore.
Miss Anna, I wonder though, because in your bio you say that you work with people who are incarcerated, and both male and female. I wonder how you bring these different techniques when you work with them. How do you make it more understandable or palatable for them so that they
You'd
can
be
read
surprised. They're actors. I think when you're born an actor, you're an organism, you're a tree, and you are meant to express in an outward, energetic way. That's just, I feel the energy of the actor. And when I go there, I really don't think technique. I just one exercise and they bloom. They just bloom with a very small exercise. I don't do anything really. And so I think there's so many actors there who probably took drugs or didn't have the resources, took drugs to maybe numb or dampen the beauty of their art, because some of them are just fantastic artists. And so maybe they took drugs because they had to dampen that energy. I don't know, or I don't know what. I just know that when I go, it takes very little effort on my part, and then you will see the human face light up. So I don't even think technique. I just bring a little exercise. You can see actors when they are acting. They are beautiful. They are glowing. There's an outward energy, no matter what the technique and what the output. It's a very generous art. And I feel that when actors are acting, they're healthy, they're happy, and they're not poison to themselves. There's no inner toxins happening. So that's all I do, is just bring a little exercise so that they can express. Fertilizer. Fertilizer for a plant that needs to bloom.
Thank you for that wonderful answer, Miss Anna. As we all notice right now, unintentional as it may be and maybe intentional, our panel is all female, which I personally find wonderful as a female actor. So I would like to ask, based on your experiences as women, what are very specific challenges that you think were brought to your craft by your gender, and how did you deal with them?
Since I'm the eldest, I'll start because my era was, I predate them, I think, for many, many years. So in my time, the roles were the whore or the prostitute, the victim, the poor girl, the Cinderella. Maybe you got to play the nurse, the maid, the lawyer. And then, how do you say, in those days, they called it multicultural casting. Now we have line casting, so you can play anything, but in those days, so there were real gender stereotypes, and there were limitations for women. You had to be good looking, you had to Asian, martial arts, you had to be the femme fatale, Rambolina, you know. So those were the limitations and the realities in those days for film and TV. For theater, they were more open in certain cities.
To add to that, because even though I may be like maybe 2 years younger than Miss Anna Valdes, I think, those were still pretty much the roles that, you know, were available, you know, and how women were represented were always precarious. We're always, the representation of women has always been in support of male, in support of man, and you know, and I don't know. I think we have a pretty strong voice and we have a pretty keen eye. We have very few but very wonderful female directors in Manila, for example. And prior to that, I think there was just one or two that I really knew of going into theater. The rest were all men, right? And so the male gaze was very strong, and I had to learn how to appeal to that. I had to learn how to, you know, form my body and my behavior in a way that was pleasing to them, which was not necessarily pleasing to me. And I had to pander to that patriarchy a lot as an actor. And I had to be willing to do things that I was not okay as a woman, you know? And I had to say, well, if you want to be in the theater, you gotta suck it up and do that, right? Like, for example, kissing on stage. How is that? You're trained as a Filipina that you're gonna marry who you kiss. Ako dia. Right? If you kiss a lot of boys, you're a slut, right? That's how, I don't know about other countries, but in very Catholic Philippines, that was a mindset. And growing up in a high school that was very Catholic, right? So I didn't go to UP for that very reason. I didn't want to kiss. I didn't want to strip, right? Because I heard that's what you do in UP. That's what I, you know. So I was like, I'm going to go to Jesuit University, you know. And when I graduated from Ateneo, we didn't have any nudity, but we did have kissing, right? And I remember my boyfriend was very upset. But I was, you know, I had already at that point said, you know what? I'm an actor. You can suck it up, right? But there was no process to it. There was just, oh, you go kiss. What's the big deal, ba? Just kiss. The big deal is, one, you raised me to not like this unless it's with my husband. And then now you're just telling me, go kiss? Like, there has to be that step-by-step process, which only now I'm learning only recently with this intimacy direction workshop that I'm taking, and I tremendously want to be I want to take more of that so that I can give that to the next generation, because I wasn't afforded that when I was growing up, and oh yeah, this is fun, this will sell, this will, this is our art, and we just had to like go blindly. There was no consideration of how we felt as women, right? So, you wear this. I mean, not that I wouldn't, but come on, collaborate with me here. Don't just kind of impose things on me. So actually, when I started working with female directors, and Monique was very gentle and very methodical, in her process. Wow, I felt very much cared for. Not to say that my male directors did not have that care. No, it's just that when a woman talks to a woman, I suppose there is that kind of gendered understanding of what we have to go through to arrive at a certain level of freedom, because our gender limits our freedom necessarily, and men might not understand this. Okay, I cannot speak for the men, but as a woman, I know that my gender limits me in so many ways, and I have to fight tooth and nail in the theater to just be free and to be respected. I felt that growing up, and I think now there's a little bit more space for that, and it's wonderful. At the same time, there's also that whole, oh yeah, I drank the Kool-Aid of patriarchy. I kind of got to get that out of my system, because sometimes I hear myself being very patriarchal, that whole, oh wow, and I have to like unlearn that, because growing up, that's how we were raised.
Yeah, it's very similar in Serbia, and I'm, for example, at the moment, Serbia is shaken by two huge scandals provoked by sexual assault by a drama professor, and the second one is by a famous actor. And I'm sad to say that now in the 21st century, we still, we think that we progress as a society, and I'm talking in the context of Serbia, but then you realize by reading the public comments on the social media that they would absolutely, the victims of a sexual assault who are actresses in these cases, and I don't say that doesn't happen in other professions, but in these two specific cases, people would write, well, they're actresses, their behavior, they're open with their bodies, they hug, they kiss, they do this and that, so they provoke that. But for them, for male actors in this case, it's these actresses should be honored because they, as men, famous actors, they just acknowledge them as somebody that they can have violent sexual contacts. I think that for Serbia and for also other society globally, we need to constantly learn, as Missy said, maybe through our education because of patriarchy, and it's a hidden knowledge. Sometimes I can see that oh my God, just through me patriarchy just spoke, and I need to stop that and acknowledge that, and to be aware of all these taken for granted assumption, and we constantly need to disrupt this status quo by pointing out how the regimes of power and control function that will lead, for example, to social transformation. But it's hard and it's challenging, and also marginalized groups like women in the artistic field in Serbia are also stricken by this, and we just through informing the public about all these dynamics that are happening, I think it might take us to some social transformation. But yeah, it's challenging. And also, as you mentioned, male gaze, at the Academy of Arts, female directors, theater directors, or movie directors, in one cohort, you might have one or two, and all others are men, and also directors of theaters also men. So it's challenging, and you need to learn how to navigate yourself. But hopefully in the future, women power, girl power, we'll see.
To follow up on that thread of discussion, feminist concerns in the artistic community, especially in the acting community. We have Miss Anna Valdes, who started in an era where there are very limited opportunities, especially for Asian women. I would like to know your opinion on how is it important to be picky or to not be picky when it comes to characters to audition for or to play as a young and aspiring actress starts to train in her craft.
As a young actor, audition as often as you can. Dress the part, be ready, and don't really focus on the rejection, because you learn from every audition. So you're building your resume and you're building your career. So you have to kind of focus on the long runway. And I know it's very painful to get rejected, but in the beginning, now I have something that contradicts that too, which is you really need to spend some time getting to know yourself. I mean, know yourself apart from your family, your cultural upbringing, the do's and don'ts that are expected of your family. So you need to silence all the shoulds of your family pressure or whatever attachments are pressuring you, because as an actor, you are the instrument. You are the piano, you're the violin. So you have to take care of the health and the sound of this beautiful instrument. So you have to make sure that it's giving the best expression it can by taking care of it. If you're buffeted by pleasing people, you will have a very difficult life. But you have to go out and try to get the job, and that's a lot of rejection. So there's so much self-work and self-knowledge you need to cultivate in your little garden of who you are. So there's a lot of inner work to do, but I would say keep auditioning and get out there.
Would you care to share, Miss Missy Maramara?
To be picky or not to be picky, that is the question, right? Because you're young and you want to really get out there. The theater industry is so small in the Philippines, and you want to make sure that all the directors know you and that you get as much work as you can, right? Because that's the only way you're really going to grow, especially since education, training, it's very privileged. It's very, very privileged, unfortunately, right? And if you can get into the theater, boom, why not, right? And when you're young, I don't know if you're going to do research and ask about these directors, right? How does this director direct? How does, before you audition, I think you're just going to go and audition and learn about how the director directs when you're there, right? But if you in yourself have a lot of inhibitions, if you in yourself have a lot of things that you don't want to shed because you're afraid, I'm not sure if you're ready for theater. Yeah, if those inhibitions are so persistent that you're going to cling on to it. But if the inhibitions are there and you're familiar with it and aware of it, and you are willing to kind of move it forward, push your boundaries to accommodate more humanity in your bucket of experience, right? It's going to be difficult, very, very difficult and challenging. And if you don't want to feel discomfort and you don't want to be bothered by things that don't work in your favor easily, if you don't want, if you expect things to be handed to you on a silver platter, the theater is not for you, sweetheart. So theater is about work. Theater is about the taboo things that we gotta discuss because humanity's gotta confront it and polite society doesn't want to deal. Right? So the idea is theater is here. We go to the theater, we see how it really is in a beautiful way that allows us to, confront it. And it just kind of shreds us to pieces, either as actors or as witnesses, as audiences. And we will just be able to kind of take it. in full force and do something about it. That's what theater wants to do. Now, if you cannot be that priestess, or if you cannot be that vehicle for humanity and all its poignant and all its fraught circumstances, because you want to pick and choose, I don't know. Okay, and then this is for the young ones, because you can only really understand once you've experienced it. Now, having said that, you also want to be aware. You don't want to be a doormat, right? You don't come into the theater as a doormat. No. You come into the theater as a powerful force. And you have to respect that force. This force will be molded, not by one person, okay? Not by just a set of artistic team, right? But you are part of that artistic team. You have to be able to collaborate. You have to be able to contribute to that exchange, right? But you, in the collaboration, you also have to receive. So this exchange is a very, like when all of these sculptors are sculpting wood or marble or stone, right? It must be painful. It must be so difficult, not just for the stone, wood, or marble, but also for the artist chipping away at it. And I see acting as that. It's a painful process of fine-tuning, of really bringing out this humanity that we can really hold and grasp and confront together as a community, right? So in your coming into the theater, in your collaboration, you get to know who you like collaborating with. You get to know also who likes to collaborate with you, because we all have little ways of doing things, right? And you find that you're your best self when you collaborate with this group of people. And eventually you say, okay, I'm a little bit too comfortable just always collaborating with this group of people. I'm becoming stagnant. I also want to expand and grow. So I'm going to try collaborating with this group of people, right? So, and that's going to be another discomfort, great discomfort. I remember when I went to the US, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to change how I act, right? I have to match them and learn their approach. That's why I came here. So I learn it. Yay! I come back here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to relearn, right? But now knowing what I know. And, moving, acting from Ateneo to UP, to CCP, to New Voice, to Repertory Philippines, every single group has its way of doing. And not just every single group, but every single director. And you have to be game to kind of be that malleable force. Not as a doormat, again, I need to stress that, but as a fellow collaborator.
I'll just add one more possible option to this question, like to be picky or not. Like we would all agree, like the process, the creative process that you have when you're creating a performance within your within the performance group. So it's actually another way of knowing, and it's grounded in an active and intimate participation and personal connection. So it's allows vulnerability, intimacy, and involvement as a form of understanding. But maybe for a specific performance, theater performance or movie performance, you heard that this or that theater director doesn't have a great artistic process, that it's quite hard to work with them, or maybe they don't have enough knowledge and experience, and etc., etc. I would say, at least my professor of acting told me, like, even if the professor of acting or a theater director, movie director is not that good enough, you still can learn out of that experience. And that's, I think, valuable. And that's what you need to seek from whenever you participate and you have a connection with another artist in a specific project, because you can learn from anyone, even if they are not like, I don't know, Hollywood actors, actresses, actors, or directors. You can still learn even from a student who studies theater or movie directing, because those connections are valuable for you, and you can always learn. Even if one moment, like 2 days before the premiere, you realize, okay, I don't know what I'm doing in this performance, but then you will force yourself, like, okay, so now I have only myself, so it will be me on the stage doing a specific role, so let's see what we can do. in these circumstances. And I think that's the process when you learn how to adjust and to play your instrument. So yeah, go for it. Go to many auditions as you can, because you never know what that can bring to you, and it will be valuable at the end. Absolutely.
And watch plays. Watch all the plays.
Oh yes. Go to the theater. You can learn a lot also just by observing and being like in spectatorship. Like also from that experience, you learn a lot.
And read. Read plays, read books, read theory, read.
Yes, to all of that, of course. So we're talking about auditioning, and we're talking about choosing roles or not choosing roles, accepting roles, or really going for it. I wonder though, is there a way for actors to really create opportunities for themselves and not wait to be casted and not wait for auditions to come? In your experience, how have you taken the cudgels?
I think it's fast now. Oh, sorry, Missy. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Miss Anna. For me, just make your own play. You can't wait. I remember coming back from the States and I had no one knew me anymore. Everyone was cast and I couldn't wait for the next season to get casted. So I pulled my friends together and said, come, let's do a play. And they said, okay. So the first few plays I was in back when I got, back in 2014 when I just got back, were plays that I was producing and directing and acting in. And I was like, yeah, come on, you want to play with me? Come on, let's play. And then eventually people were like, oh, she's back. Okay, you want to be here? And I started auditioning again. I had an MFA na, yabang ko na dapat, di ba? But no, yabang is death of actor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to audition. I kept auditioning to every single thing I possibly could. So there. But while I didn't get cast, I staged my plays.
Yeah, you can self-publish online. You can produce your own plays. You can, it's faster now, in fact. I know people that I was just coaching and then they're in Broadway and then they're Hollywood. Ang bilis. It's fast now. Because, I don't know, because maybe information technology. But don't think that it's impossible or it's a long runway. It's a fast runway. I see people come from Philippines and go internationally very fast.
Collaborate with your comrades. Like find people with who will challenge you, who will make you grow. That's important. So even if you're because acting in a way it's one big waiting. And that waiting can last for years until you get your opportunity to be on the stage in one perfect performance that will bring you another jobs and etc. But while you wait, you can always make your own group with people who will, as I mentioned already, challenge you, make you grow, and you can still create art. You don't need an institution to create art. You can also do it by yourself. And especially now, because we are living in social medias, you have this very fast access to the future public. Like when I was young and when I was a young actress, that wasn't an option. So you just had to navigate yourself. So use this opportunity where you live now. Gather in groups.
And you do outreach programs. Go to your barangay. Tell them, oh, can I hold a workshop for the kids here, right? I mean, organize a little village thing, assuming we're not in a pandemic. Or if you're in a pandemic, then go ahead, organize an online thing with your friends. Do a reading, do workshops, right? Eman has done that several times. So he's like, can we do workshops? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. So, just find ways to keep growing, keep engaging, keep collaborating.
So we have prepared a few questions specific to each panelist. So a question for Ms. Anna Stojanović. With your extensive experience and research in both Serbian and Indonesian performances, what would you consider to be a universal philosophy for actors when it comes to applying themselves in different art forms that require, acting or performance, that you've come to realize in training in both of these worlds?
So I think I already mentioned a little bit about this. So it's a great experience that you have culturally, across disciplines. So it gives you more tools and skills that can help you perform, and it will enrich you. Like for example, you're learning how to play only jazz, but now when you go abroad, you will learn not only to play jazz, but maybe traditional folk music, classic music, and etc. So you expand your tools. So actually, that's what Indonesia, the experience living and learning in Indonesia, more specifically in Surakarta in Java, and learning Javanese dance, it really helped me a lot to expand my artistic tools. Not only artistic tools, but also research. Go abroad, connect, create your global community. You can really learn a lot. And it's, as I mentioned already, like performance is a way of knowing through experience. And that's important for us as performing artists. That's really important for us to learn different aesthetics, like culturally, that will actually open up you more. And you can work more on a specific details that maybe you were not that good enough in something, but then by having that experience living in a different community that is culturally, socially absolutely different from the community where you were born and raised, actually it helped me, like, because I became very interested after my experience in Indonesia. I became very interested in the body, in the scene movement, especially because in the academic curriculum in Serbia and in Eastern Europe, you don't learn about the Asian theater, traditional theater at all. So for me, that's a big thing. And actually now when I came back to Serbia, it gave me tools that maybe if I'm not working in the theater or in the movie industry, like now I have the tools that I can give back to my community, and maybe through my work with other students, I can inspire them to maybe learn about different artistic expressions. So yeah, when I lived in Indonesia, I learned about how body can talk in so many beautiful different ways. Like I learned some different movement that my body couldn't know about it, because I was, as I mentioned, like traditional folklore Serbian dances or acting in Serbia, it's like open up, smile, look, you like your gaze is directed straight to the audience. It's very different. So it's good that you learn to adjust. Acting is adjusting to specific roles, circumstances, directors. So yes, go do as many workshops as you can.
I like this question of Antilla, Nicole Africa. How, given how acting is a very personal endeavor, how can one learn to be vulnerable on stage amidst all the problems the actor may be experiencing? Okay, so first of all, every time a student tells me that she's heartbroken, I say, congratulations, you can use that in the theater. You know, and you just have to remember that theater works with human experiences, right? And this is your strength, that your experience, you have life sources to really offer the altar that is the stage. But you don't just throw it out there, right? You actually have to go through a step-by-step process. And that's the ritual of theater, right? Getting into that mindset. That's why you have to warm up. You have to align with the text. You have to use your imagination. And that's where technique comes in, because it helps you scaffold. And the performance itself allows you to express. So this vulnerability, this life experience, it's like a beach ball that if you put down under the water and repress some more, it's gonna go, you know. So while if in acting, when you allow the water to just let that beach ball go back and forth and you're with that water, so to speak, then there's more facilitation in the traumatic experience. So I have a magisterial lecture on trauma and acting if you want to check it out on YouTube. But there, no, basically this vulnerability, it's a choice. And it's up to you when you're ready to heal, when you're ready to use that experience as a gift, not just to yourself, but to others. You know, there's a saying that it's nice to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better when others learn from it too. So there's that.
Miss Missy Maramara, we also have a specific question for you.
Yeah.
Coming from an enriched background in training for acting in the US and then coming home to the Philippines, where access to quality acting training can be scarce and costly, what would be your take on whether aspiring actors need formal training or not?
I, as a human being, need structure. And training is costly everywhere in any industry. If you think of it in terms of privileged, step-by-step institutional training. I just got so lucky that I was able to get scholarships. And I think I was able to get scholarships because I was adamant on giving it back. No. And when we think of the academe, it's a very structured institution, then you kind of have to have certain qualifications to kind of get there. But that's not the only place to get training. It's not the only place where you can grow into your best self, right? So you have to find what works for you. Some people like getting trained in the academe, and I speak for myself. Some people like going into workshops. Some people like going into productions right away. Some people even hate having teachers altogether. They want to do it their way. That's fine too. The whole idea is really doing it and doing it and doing it. Now, what is the academe for? The academe is there to, as I said, institutionalize a method. There is a way of doing, right? If you can do it and then you are able to articulate what you've done, you're able to study it. If you're able to study it, you can analyze it and theorize about it so that you can repeat it again. And this repetition, this process is what you call the study. It's what you call the discipline of the study. So that's what the academe is for. Now, if you don't want to do that, because I want to do that. If you don't want to do that, no, just keep doing. The nice thing lang, if you're in school, right? You get to meet people who are as like driven and as like kind of methodical, but otherwise just go and learn. Yeah, and find your own way of learning, because learning is a lifelong endeavor, sabi nga ni Em and Mante.
Thank you, Missy. Truly. And also, of course, Miss Anna knows this, especially since she has devoted her life to also teaching and really honing these students, right? Miss Anna, you've come up with all of these books that we have been using in our workshops ever since, So my question for you is, as you may already know, several viewers of this talk right now are either aspiring or working actors who seek masterful guidance in the understanding of acting pedagogies to pick up helpful techniques in their future work. So as the first outstanding Filipino alumna of Juilliard and as a Filipino artist, how do you plan to kind of really continue that path that you've taken of raising the bar of acting and the teaching of acting and performance training here in our country? Would you be keen to mentor the next crop of young artists?
Thank you, Issa. I think I am mentoring, and I do advocate. I do make phone calls for actors when I have to. I mentor every Sunday. If you go to my website, there's a free class on Sundays at 4:00. It's called AMP, Artist Mentoring Program. And I make myself available on Sundays at 4:00 just to sit in a circle and listen to what's happening, and just not necessarily me, but other actors can also be in the circle, and to help the artist, because I know it's hard. It's hard and it's lonely and it's a struggle. Many of our parents want us to be bankers or something more steady. So I make myself available on Sundays. It's free. I just don't put free. It's like by donation. But you can just show up and sit in circle and let's have the questions. So I make myself available for that. I also have the books. So as much as I can, I am mentoring and advocating actors. I also have for the Bagong Laya, the inmates who were freed, who were my students in the prison. So I have a public speaking class with them every Sunday at 3:00. So I am available. You can find me, my email, and I'm there.
Talking about circles, we artists have been holding circles and space for each other and for other people to join, especially now that we are in a pandemic and things have really shifted. So my question is, now that everything has changed and it has really shaped our worlds, especially for performers, how have you been dealing with this, and how do you see the trajectory of your craft, especially dealing with this uncertain condition?
I'll start. I think it's there are many blessings that came with the pandemic. A lot of awareness and consciousness of the collective. Where some of us are really being challenged to think of the community. I think information technology is great. It's a great way to self-publish and be seen and be known. It's faster. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity today, and it's irreversible. We're not going back. It's only forward. We're only going to be more connected, and the connection will be faster, more complex. So I think theater performance, it's online. There's going to be certainly live and live stream, but a lot of it is going to be online. It used to be historically that you had to wait for the singer to come to your village, in the dark ages. The singers had to come to your village to hear your favorite song if there was no singer in your village. Hey, now we have Spotify. We have so many ways to listen to our favorite song. We don't need to wait for theater to happen. We can make it happen. We can create our little pockets or our big pockets. So there is a blessing, both deeply, transformatively, but also as an opportunity for performance.
So now we'd like to welcome our attendees to also join the talk by sharing their questions that they have written in for our speakers. And from Shaz Caberos Bautista, the question is, I'd like to hear their notes as teachers of theater and acting. What unforgettable experiences did you have as a student, which you eventually applied as a teacher?
Getting thrown stuff at. Like I would get chairs, I would get so many things thrown at me, and because I don't know, the director wanted like urgency or something, and I'd be like, God, I would like have urgency, right? I think Issa knows this, and then, but then now when I do it, it's they okay. So first I throw like my shoe, and it's never straight at them, it's like to the side, and they still jump, right? And I say, you feel that? Sustain it, now use it. So what I added to my experience was my process of making sense of that experience of being thrown a chair at, like, oh, okay, I gotta do my work, and some people will just take it as my director hates me. Shucks, right? I learned something from that experience. I gotta make sure that my students learn it, so I'm not just repeating what was done to me. I process it. How did it make me a better actor, and how can I use that, because it becomes my impulse too, how do I use that to kind of help process things along? So never to hurt, never to endanger, but just really to kind of create a visceral response.
And I think Missy already answered this question in the chat box, but I would like to pose this question written in by Chaz also to Ms. Anna Stojanović and Ms. Anna Valdes Lim. He writes, this has always been a question in my mind, and it might sound silly. As actors, you had acted as many characters as you have. How do you make sure that you retain your own, or would you call it original personality, or do you absorb parts of your character and they eventually become part of your personality eventually?
Well, I would say that there is no, of course, acting transformation. So it's a different thing, but you work with your own material, your emotions and your experiences, and then you build from there, you build up. You always, when you create a character, you know where you are and where that character is, and at least for me, the biggest challenge is like to make that difference between and my character like as wide as I can. But I remember one of my colleagues, she said like, oh, Anna, do you know? And I'm not sure where it happened. Like, was it like in the Dark Ages or maybe, I don't know, 100 years ago? And I'm not sure in which country specifically, but there was a law when you are an actor and you have a play, and after that play, next 2 hours, if you commit any kind of crime, you won't be penalized by the court, because it doesn't count, because you are not in your own body, in your own personality, so you can actually defend from that point of view. So for me, that was interesting, and I think you all had that experience once you finish. And for me, theater performances are much more exciting because you have the audience, you're there, you're creating in that very moment, so you need to be just on the top of your game. And when you finish that performance, like you have that kind of excitement and like mixture of different emotions depending on which kind of character did you portray. But really, like I realized like, yeah, last 2 hours after the performance, something changed with me. Like I was a little bit higher in my expression, in my communication. And then after 2 or 3 hours, like some kind of drugs leave you, and then you're back in your own body, and then you can like think again as you. But yeah, you build up from yourself, from your own experience, from your own emotions.
Yes, I agree. You know, when you're an actor, you kind of go into a virtual reality. You go into your imagination and you go crazy. And if you live with a role a long time, you go crazy for a while. And, you know, allow it. I mean, it's part of the insanity. If you have to have an accent, if you have to have this kind of viciousness or something, so you embody that and you do your homework at home and you're a little crazy for a while, and practice stepping back from that, stepping back from all of that, step back from the actor, step back from the role, step back, and that way you can find a center. Because if you are wafted, you know, blown away like the wind by every role or every tweet or every message, you'll have a very unstable life. And the actor is able to embody so much. And you do change. You are affected by your characterizations. You are affected by your imagination. So take care of your instrument, hold it, and know that you can step back from it. It is theater or it is performance. Otherwise, if you can't drop it, I think maybe there's drama therapy, but performing arts is where you can drop it, stop it, and come back tomorrow and be a functional adult for the other people in your community. If you can't really do that, maybe there needs to be other type of work that can help us, because I'm not knocking it. I think there is something therapeutic about drama and performance, but it's not also a cure, and deeper work has to be done.
What Miss Anna is talking about is de-rolling. Because, you know, getting into a character is very important, you know, in acting, but getting out of character is as important. And there are many ritualistic practices that you can do to do that. And you gotta do things other than theater, meet non-theater friends, take breaks, be by yourself to know what you like as you. I think that when you do theater and you meet all these different characters, it kind of tells you about yourself as well, right? Because this is a different person than you. It has a completely different set of values. And you either agree or disagree with it, but you embody it. So while the mind knows it's not real, the body does not know. And it's so funny because like, when every time I'm in a role, it manifests. Some aspect of it manifests. Like suddenly I like hats, you know, suddenly I'm a little bit more gregarious. Suddenly I'm heavy and depressed and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Oh, it's the role. Okay, so yeah, I gotta live with this a little bit for the production. When we were doing the Lagita, I was so scared because, you know, she commits eventually suicide, right? And I was like, oh my God, you know, I might become a depressive here. So I already flagged all my psychologist friends, and I'm like, I'm at Ninja. And then what was manifesting was her freedom. And I was like, why am I so happy? Oh, that's why. And I was like, just happy throughout the whole production. And I can't choose what manifests, but I can be mindful of what that manifestation is and direct that energy, because I still have to work in the morning in my other non-theater work, well, which is still theater. But anyway, so when you're done with a theatrical piece, whether it's rehearsals or a production, you have to de-roll, the decompression. And you have to explore a life outside of the theater, because that life is what you're going to eventually bring back in anyway and offer it. So go back to neutral, go back to your self. And then there's this thing about you are the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are those 5 people? One of them will be your character. So just be mindful of that. No? I think mindfulness is key, and going back to neutral is key.
Yeah, one of my professors, also acting professors, when we started studying acting, that lasts for 4 years in Serbia. So he said, like, do you have significant other? Like, do you have a boyfriend, girlfriend? Do you have friends? Do you keep connection with them? You're not just lonely at the acting academy. And we were all like shocked with that question. And he said, like, you need to have an anchor out of this, as Ana Valdes would say, like virtual reality, and also like, just be taken and carried on all these emotions that you experienced as your character. But yeah, have your anchor outside of that world, like have your friends that will actually and eventually will take you back to the ground. But yes, as Missy said, like, you need to de-roll, like you need to go back to your neutrality but you will do it. But that's the beauty of this work, I think.
Could I just add, when you leave your practice, be gentle, take yourself back to the real world in stages. Don't immediately go to your phone or your social media and get lost in another role. Recognize that you had a fully loaded rehearsal and take that time back to the real world, because the real world's going to hit you in a different way. So be good to yourself, give yourself a free pass, be quiet for a while.
Thank you for that. Grace Team here, type in the chat room the question. So my question is a practical one. She says, if it's okay to share, what were some of your side or day jobs when acting jobs were not available? How do you manage your finances?
I went into teaching. I went into teaching because I was directing high school. I got invited. When I was in college, I got invited to direct in high school. And then they said, oh, you're fun. You want to try and teach? So I started teaching. That's my side job. It's still in theater anyway. So parang, yeah, it's all that. That's it for me. Thanks.
I did a lot of work. I was a cashier, a sales lady, everything, cookie counter clerk. I did that for many years. And then I was very good at temping. So I became a financial manager of Equitable Life. I mean, I think I was just pretending to be good at corporate. But anyway, so I think later on that ability to work in an office helped me later. But before, I would just, go to auditions in my lunch hour. It was difficult. I had a difficult time managing the finances, not having enough. That's the reality.
Yes, for sure. That's the reality, especially when you're studying. I also, like in Serbia, you can even organize your own drama schools for children. And like all the experience that you gain through your university education, you can actually practice it there with like, you don't need to find a specific school. You can organize your own. And also in Serbia, when I studied, so that's 2004, they're like, you had, I don't know how you say that in English, but when child celebrates a birthday, so you have a specific place where that happens, and you could be dressed up as a Snow White or Jasmine or Cinderella. I was Snow White, so yeah, so you just go there and pretend that you're Snow White in a beautiful costume, and then you play with children. So that was one of my side jobs as well. And yeah, I don't know if that happens in the Philippines, but yeah, maybe an idea for a business. Yeah.
It does. I was Snow White too. I'm a very dark Snow White.
Thank you for that, guys. So this is the last question. So bringing it back to the pandemic and what's happening right now, throwing the question now to Missy and to Anna Stojanović. And if you have anything else to add, ma'am, and Miss Anna, now that we're all in a pandemic and things have changed, how have you adjusted your practice? And do you see a trajectory to where this will take your practice or craft? And at the end, now that a lot of artists and young artists are lost because things have changed, what is something that you can say to them so that they'd want to continue and pursue things? Thank you.
I would say find what makes you happy, because we're all trapped. And I found this guy. He makes me very happy. I don't know how I'm going to go back to the theater once the pandemic is over, because he's so needy. The reason why I'm carrying him right now is because he keeps on crying and I have to pay him a little attention. So it's really about making this pandemic work for you. You know, you gotta find a way to touch base with yourself and make yourself happy and healthy and keep growing, because otherwise, when we go back to the real world, what do we have? Trauma from the pandemic, right? So find ways. Use this set of limitations to be creative.
Yeah, I agree. And like I had constant, like and I just can't believe that it's almost, not almost, it's a year since the pandemic started and everything was closed. So I constantly had a feeling that I'm missing something, even though nobody could go to the theater, nobody could create anything. But I had a feeling that I'm missing something. And of course, your practice will suffer because you cannot connect with other people. You cannot, like from the collaboration, just being with another actor there in the same space, creates a play, a performance, etc. But now you don't have that. You just have Zoom and like these small squares. So absolutely it affects all of us. In my case, because I'm doing my PhD, so for me was good because I could teach, as I mentioned, I think at the very beginning, like, so now I could teach at the UCLA, but and also like staying in Europe, in Belgrade, in Serbia. Now I could connect with all of you in the Philippines, even though I'm not there. So probably that would never ever happen. So now our whole planet became one small village where we can just all meet from all over the world. And I think that's a good thing about the pandemic, because now we create different communities. It may be one day, and I hope, and I'm so optimistic that I believe that in 2 days this all will end. I know it won't, but I'm just like, yeah, in April I am there. But yeah, find something that inspires you. It's hard for all of us, and we all like, sometimes I feel like kind of like depressed, and I'm not sure why it's that. And then I just like, yeah, it's pandemic, and of course the only thing that is left is anxiety and rage. But take something out of it, like, I don't know, connect, write the projects, theater projects, find people with who you can speak, and then maybe eventually create a performance or a troupe or whatever inspires you the most.
So it has been an absolute privilege for us to have all our panelists today join us for such an insightful and, might I say, powerful exchange of thoughts, advice, and experiences from their lives as teachers and actors. And as our display of our gratitude, allow us to present you digital certificates of appreciation for sharing your time and gifts with us this afternoon or morning for Ms. Stojanović. So I would like to present the certificate of recognition hereby given to Ms. Anna Valdes Lim for sharing their expertise in the ARTisTALK 2021 as part of the celebration of the 40th founding year of the Master of Arts in Theater Arts program, given this 8th of May 2021, signed by Professor Maria Amihan Bonifacio Ramalete, PhD, Dean of College of Arts and Letters, and Professor Belendi Kalingacion, PhD, Chair of the Department of Speech, Communication, and Theater Arts, and signed by Assistant Professor Brian L. Viray, MA in Theater Arts Coordinator and Advisor, and MA Theater Arts at 40 Project Leader.
Thank you.
And from the program, I would like to present this certificate of recognition to Melissa Vera M. Maramara for sharing her expertise in the Artist Talk 2021 as part of the celebration of the 40th founding year of the Master of Arts in Theater Arts program, given this 8th day of May 2021, signed by Professor Maria Mihan Bonifacio Ramolete, Professor Belendi Kalingacion, and Assistant Professor Brian Viray.
Last but not the least, we would love to present this digital certificate of recognition, hereby given to Ms. Anna Stojanović for sharing her expertise in the Artist Talk 2021 as part of the celebration of the 40th founding year of the Master of Arts in Theater Arts program, given this 8th of May 2021 in the morning in Belgrade, Serbia. Signed by Professor Maria Amihan Bonifacio Ramolete, PhD, Professor Belen D. Kalingacion, PhD, and Assistant Professor Brian L. Viray. 3. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon or day. And we hope to see our speakers in the future, maybe as our mentors, as our teachers, or workshop facilitators. I myself, as an actor and performance student, I'm very keen and I'm dreaming of. So thank you so much, and thank you to the attendees.
Everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Nice to
Have a
meet
good-
all of you. Thank you.
Right.
This has been Artist Talk Series Episode 1 on performance, pedagogy, and institutions. We thank you for watching and listening to our panel of speakers and moderators. Stay tuned for next week's episode on theater praxis and performance practices, featuring guest speakers Melvin Lee, Paul Alexander Morales, Fred Lino, and Iris Montesclaros. Like this page and follow us on Instagram at UP Diliman Mata to stay updated on the latest activities of this year's celebration of the 40th founding year of the UP Diliman MA Theater Arts program.